Hi, my name's Chris McDonald. For those that don't know me, I'm a licensed therapist in North Carolina. I also am a yoga teacher and bring yoga into my therapy room with clients in my private practice. I also, as another part of my business, I support therapists who want to bring yoga in their therapy room. So I help them bring it in safely, effectively, and ethically since we are licensed professionals. I host Yoga in the Therapy Room podcast as well. I also bring trainings to therapists and I wanted to create a playlist for this channel for therapists since I'm trying to reach more of them and be able to be a guide for them. Because what I have found in my yoga training that many times we're kind of alone out there. And we are a unique position as therapists to bring yoga in our therapy room. And I find that many therapists are hesitant and have that sometimes they get the training and they're like, okay, now what? Now what do I do? So it can be difficult to make that move from traditional talk therapy to a more integrative approach. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about why therapists feel stuck bringing yoga in the therapy room because I see a lot of themes come up over and over from listeners of my podcast and those that I support through consultations and in supervision. They often don't know where to begin, is what I found. Many traditional yoga trainings and studios is geared more towards teaching yoga teachers how to create classes, which is lovely and great. And we need that. I go to classes all the time. Yes. But we are not just yoga teachers. We are licensed therapists. So there that brings a whole other complexity to what we do. And if you take a training that is not geared towards therapists, it can leave you at the end being like, ooh, these are fun practices, or I feel great after. Wait a second, how do I bring this in with clients? Because unless you are advertising services specifically for bringing yoga in the therapy room, clients aren't going to know that you're doing this. They're not coming to you for that usually until you start promoting it as that. So that kind of puts us in a weird scenario of like, okay, they're coming to me for anxiety relief, depression, trauma, yet I learned some of this training, but there's a gap, right? And what I found in my experience with my 200-hour, I've also taken a 100-hour certification in grief yoga, also trained in mindful movement training, bringing Qigong, somatics practices, and gentle yoga. So lots of different areas I've been trained in over the years. But what I found the gaps are is the how and when do we bring yoga into clinical sessions? So we have these practices. I remember took my first chair yoga training 10 years ago. It's 2025 right now as I'm recording. And I had taken some chair yoga for just therapists. I thought, this is so exciting. Oh my gosh, we can do this. But then I was like, wait, okay, these are interesting, but there was no clarity. It was just a script on the yoga practice, but it wasn't how to do this and how do we introduce it, right? And when do we do it in session? Do we do it at the beginning? Do we do it at the end? Do we just randomly say, hey, how about trying yoga? Probably not, right? So that's kind of what brings me in as a guide for therapists is being able to help bridge that gap between the how and when. And I think as therapists overall, we're very ethical folks and we don't want to do it wrong. We don't want to hurt anyone. We don't want to cause harm. We do have ethical codes against causing harm, especially intentionally. So we want to be able to bring it in thoughtfully, right? Safely and effectively. I think everybody is in alignment with that. We don't want to say, hey, I've been going to yoga classes for a year now. I'm good, right? I can bring it in my therapy room. What's so hard about it? That would not be quite ethical because we do have scope of practice and competence, which means that yes, because we experience something ourselves personally, does not qualify us to bring it in our therapy room. So we have to build our competence. It is in our scope of practice, by the way, that we can do this, but it's important to get some training first, get some guidance, supervision, consultation, especially with people who know how to do this, right? Not everybody does. So this is a smaller part, I feel like, of the counseling world now, those that bring body-based, somatic-based practices, but it's growing, which is beautiful. And those that bring trauma-informed yoga and therapy is a little bit smaller. So it can be challenging to also find the supervision and consultation that we need. So that's one area that I'm trying to bridge that gap with services that I offer. And many therapists don't know, like, what is it that I don't know about this? Is there more? Do I want to cover myself so I don't get referred to the licensing board and lose my license? And that's my livelihood. So there's a lot of fear based that makes clients makes therapists get stuck, right? With, do I step off the ledge into this world of bringing yoga and therapy, or do I stay where it's safe and I know talk therapy and I can just jump right in with everything I know? But there's a reason that many therapists are interested in this, because traditional talk therapy isn't enough for everyone. Some people it's fine. I find those that don't have deeper issues, yeah, we can work through it with you have an issue with your boss. Let's go. Let's figure this out. Figure out a plan, work through that. Is there other ways to be less reactive? Those kinds of things. But when we have trauma and some deeper issues, we do have to look at bringing the full body, full self. I'm more a holistic therapist, and I find it so important to bring the whole person and treat from that lens and not just from our mind and thoughts and CBT approach. Because sometimes, especially with many clients, we can hit what's called the CBT wall, where you've come along for a while with someone, you've helped them, they've made slow progress, but then it's like their progress stops. And I saw that with a lot of people. And once I started to bring some of these yoga practices, bring in somatics, so much of the body-based practices, it kind of broke through that CBT wall to help them find more healing, which was just amazing. The other piece I find that uh, a lot of times therapists get stuck is they're concerned about, ooh, are my clients going to be like, what are you doing? You want to do what? Yoga, movement, breath work? That's crazy talk. Again, if you are not advertising as that and you are just jumping in, maybe you work for someone or at an agency or community mental health and you're not advertising your own services separate, that can be difficult to say, hey, this is something I want to bring in with you. But in my experience, what I have found that when we're brave and vulnerable and say, hey, this is something that I know has helped other clients in session. Would you be open to it? So just put it out there, right? And I know this can help with specifically fill in the blank. I know a breathwork practice that might be able to help you better manage your anxiety. And a lot of times they're like, yes, please, let's go. And then I kind of introduce it from there. So, how do we do this, right? With some of the language that we use, we want to make sure that we're giving them a choice. This is an option. You don't have to do this, but this is something that we could try and kind of see how it goes. So, there is kind of that gap with the training and how is this for the therapy room? Because a yoga class is totally different than the whole therapy room as therapists, which we offer and provide that safe, contained space. So I think that's important. And I know I felt this too. I made some great connections and made friends in my yoga trainings. And then it's over, and you're like, well, shit, I'm on my own here. It can be isolating, and we're not sure who to ask questions. We reach out to some people we met, but it's not the same, especially when you meet week to week and you really get to know and deepen these relationships. It can be hard without a community. So I think that's important to think about how important community is, especially when you're trained in yoga. So this is what led me to create a community for therapists. And I'm going to be relaunching my membership called Yoga and Therapy Collective, and it's specifically geared towards therapists who want to bring or are already bringing some yoga practices into their therapy and have some yoga training, but it's kind of that, ooh, how do I move this and let this apply? How do I use language as a therapist that's different than a yoga teacher? And what does that look like? How can I follow ethics and bring these safely? But also the missing component, how do I connect with others in the field, right? To be able to build those connections of support. And I think we all have to build that web of support for ourselves. So anyway, I thought this might be helpful for you just to kind of understand about, what keeps us stuck as we leave a yoga training as a therapist, and then how do we move forward, right? That can be the struggle. So I'm going to be making some videos in the upcoming weeks. So stay tuned for that. And I will be having my launch in October. So more about that later. Don't want to jump too far ahead. So I hope this was helpful. And yeah, post in the comments, subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. And if you are a therapist or interested in yoga and therapy, drop me a line. I would love to hear a comment. Talk later.